we all love a good before and after. Because if we're honest, most of us can assume that people can't change. We think we're all just sort of the way we are, for better or for worse. You think your sister will never stop borrowing your stuff without asking. Your brother will always be annoyed with you. Your parents will never be less strict with the rules in their house. Your best friend will always be talkative. Your coach will never stop yelling. That bully on your team will always be a bully. Whoever it is, we see those people and often think that they're not capable of change. And truth be told, I think a lot of us apply the same line of thinking to ourselves as well. If you're anything like me, you might want to change something about yourself, but you think it's too hard or maybe even impossible. Sometimes not changing can be good, especially if things are going pretty great for us. When we're making good grades or killing it on the team or dating the coolest kid in school or surrounded by our friends. That's when we don't mind if things stay the way that they are. But when things get hard, when we're struggling with anxiety or failing math or fighting with a friend, it just keeps continuing to get harder and harder. Maybe you feel this way because of the situations or circumstances that you're in. It's where you live, or the tensions in your family, or the illness that you're battling, or the fact that your family doesn't have a lot of money. Those sorts of things can feel difficult to change because for the most part, you don't have any control over them. You don't choose them and you can't do much to make them different. Or maybe you feel that way because of the fact that you're in middle school. The adults in your life all seem to have a lot of control in your world. They get to decide a lot of the things that impact your life, like your curfew, if you're allowed to have a phone, who you can hang out with after school. Right now, it feels like you don't have the power to change much of anything at all. Maybe you feel this way because of the mistakes that you've made. You've lied, you've cheated, you've covered up bad choices, and now you feel like those things define you. You'll never be able to change or move on from those mistakes. Or maybe you feel like this because of what you see in other people. Your mom or your dad or your best friend, your older brother, they haven't been able to change. So you've been told a million times that things will be different, but they never are. Nothing changes, and eventually you start to wonder if change is even possible. If those people can't change, why should we think anybody can change? See what I mean? We all just sort of operate under this idea that things are the way that they are. And because of that, whether we realize it or not, we're saying that we believe nothing else is possible. All of this brings us back to the story of Zacchaeus. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking through an encounter Zacchaeus had with Jesus. Just to review, Zacchaeus was a guy with a bad rep. He was a tax collector, which back then meant that he was a really bad guy. He cheated, he lied, he stole, and all that made him kind of the guy nobody wanted to hang out with. In most everyone's eyes, Zacchaeus was a bad guy who was just never gonna change. But then Zacchaeus had a personal experience with Jesus. As you might remember, Jesus spotted Zacchaeus up in a tree out of the entire crowd. He noticed Zacchaeus. Then Jesus went over to him, called him by name, and even invited himself over to Zacchaeus' home. Now, of course, people were shocked. Look back at what they said in response to Jesus' interaction with Zacchaeus. So obviously, this crowd thought that Zacchaeus was a sinner, and it seems like they thought this was all that he would ever be. Because of that, of course, Jesus shouldn't want to be in his home. He shouldn't want anything to do with Zacchaeus. But as you might remember, Jesus made it personal by stepping into love and getting to know Zacchaeus regardless of what other people had thought of him and maybe what he thought about himself. And look at what happened as a result. Wow, talk about change. In this short interaction, Jesus didn't say much. He didn't give Zacchaeus a lecture or preach a sermon. He didn't call him out for his mistakes. He didn't limit Zacchaeus to the sum of his bad choices. Instead, Jesus treated Zacchaeus like a person that he cared about. A person he knew by name, a person he wanted to hang out with, a person with potential to change. And that changed everything. Because of what Jesus did for him, Zacchaeus was able to change. He offered to not just pay everyone back, but give them at least 4 times what he stole from them. His personal encounter with Jesus changed his life, and then it changed his relationship with the people around him. Zacchaeus was now someone who was committed to making things right. That was a change. And here's what I think is so cool about the story. Jesus didn't wait to approach Zacchaeus until after he changed. He looked at Zacchaeus before and saw his potential to change. And he looks at us the same way. See, it's personal because Jesus knows your potential. He knows that no matter who you are, how old you are, what circumstances you're in, or what things you've done, you have the potential to change. Your life can change. Things can be different. You have the potential to change. So, what does this mean? Well, for starters, if you want to see change happen, the first thing you should do is start hanging out with Jesus. When Jesus spent time with Zacchaeus, it got personal. It helped him change. And it can do the same for us. If you want to see change in your life, start by spending time with Jesus. This can happen in all kinds of ways, through prayer, worship, journaling, reading your Bible, spending time at church, or talking to a small group leader. However you choose to do it, I can promise you that spending time with Jesus will help you change. Then look at the people Jesus has put in your life. How can you help them see their potential? How can you encourage them to change? Remember, it's personal because Jesus knows your potential. And that's true not just for you, but for the people around you as well. So, who in your life have you viewed as a Zacchaeus? Who have you believed just can't change? This week, take a step to change the way you see them. Pray that Jesus would help you see their potential. Ask him to make it personal with them like he did for you. Ask him to help you be a voice of encouragement towards change in their life. Because just like Jesus made it personal for us, he wants us to make it personal for others. Remember, there is no age restriction for change to happen. As a middle schooler, you have so much potential right now. There's no limit. You simply have to start believing change is possible. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to see Jesus, and something significant took place when he did that. It got personal. His life changed. And the same can be true for us. When we step towards Jesus, we open ourselves up to the potential of a big change. It's personal because Jesus knows your potential. And there's someone else that knows your potential too. Your small group leader. They know you and they love you and want to encourage you to fulfill the potential Jesus sees in you. So as you think about going to the landing this Thursday, think about this question. What's one thing I want to change in my life right now?